You won't believe what happened when the HOA. Karen's sisters decided to plug their fancy outdoor speakers into what they thought was just a regular outlet in my backyard. At first, I thought it was just another typical day dealing with neighborhood drama, but this situation quickly took a wild and unexpected turn. These two sisters, always a little nosy and obsessed with control, never stopped to ask if it was okay or even check what that outlet was really connected to. Little did they know, that outlet was anything but ordinary. It was linked straight to my septic tank system. Yeah, you heard that right, from the start. The sisters acted like they owned the place, like they had the right to use whatever they wanted without a second thought. They're those HOA types who always have to be involved in everyone else's business, constantly pushing rules and making life harder for the rest of us. But this time, they crossed a line they didn't even realize existed. I tried to warn them, but they waved me off, thinking I was just being paranoid. What could go wrong with plugging in a speaker, right? As soon as they plugged in, weird things started happening, strange smells, strange noises, and I knew something was seriously off. There was tension in the air, and I could feel that this was only the beginning of a much bigger problem. They didn't realize is that messing with that outlet wasn't just about electricity. It was about messing with my whole home system. Now, I'm stuck wondering how bad this could get and what kind of mess they might have caused without even knowing it. The HOA sisters are still out there, clueless about what they've triggered. In the next part, I'll share exactly what happened after that moment and how things spiraled out of control. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Before all this happened, the HOA Karen sisters had already built a reputation around the neighborhood. Everyone knew them as the kind of people who took the HOA rules way too seriously, always quick to report the smallest things and never missing a chance to flex their authority. Their sisters, close as ever, and always sticking together like a team. But their need to control everything around them sometimes rubbed people the wrong way. I had my fair share of run-ins with them before, mostly small stuff, like arguing about lawn heights or where trash bins were placed. But this felt different, like their usual antics were about to lead to something much bigger. The outdoor outlet they plugged into was tucked away near the garden, hidden behind some shrubs. Most people would never give it a second thought. But for me, that outlet was connected to a pretty important part of the house, the septic tank system's electric pump. It keeps everything flowing smoothly underground, making sure waste moves where it's supposed to without causing a stink. I'd always been careful about it, knowing even a small mistake could cause a disaster. When the sisters plugged in their speakers, they had no clue their music was now powered by a system designed to keep my home sanitary and functioning properly. I started noticing little things, lights flickering inside the house, an odd hum near the septic area, and the faintest smell that wasn't quite right. It made me nervous, but they just laughed it off, cranking their music louder, completely unaware of the ticking time bomb they were playing with. I kept thinking, how could they be so careless? And what happens if that system gets overloaded or damaged? Could it cause a backup, a costly repair, or worse? The tension kept building because I didn't know how to explain it without sounding paranoid, and they weren't listening anyway. This wasn't just about neighbors, but about something that could impact my whole home and maybe the neighborhood too. And that's when the real trouble began. As the days went by, the situation only got more complicated. The HOA Karen sisters seemed completely oblivious to the potential damage they were causing. Their backyard parties became louder, and their use of that outdoor outlet became almost constant. Meanwhile, I started noticing subtle but worrying signs: water pooling in odd places, the septic system making strange noises at night, and that smell that wouldn't go away no matter how much I tried to ignore it. I felt stuck between wanting to warn them again and fearing they'd just brush me off, or worse, escalate the conflict. On top of that, the HOA board was involved, but not in the way I expected. The sisters had friends on the board who usually backed their every move, making it harder for me to bring up any concerns without feeling sidelined. It was like a silent power struggle going on behind the scenes. I wasn't just dealing with faulty wiring or a weird outlet anymore. Was caught in the middle of a neighborhood clash where rules, reputation, and personal pride all mixed together. Neighbors started whispering too. Some were curious, others clearly annoyed by the sisters' constant grip on the community's social scene. A few even warned me to be careful about stirring the pot. But the truth was, I couldn't just stand by. Something went seriously wrong with the septic system. It could mean a big mess for everyone, not just me, at the same time. The sisters seemed completely unaware, maybe just didn't care that their actions might have consequences far beyond their own backyard. Their focus was on keeping their social status high, playing loud music, and ignoring the warnings that things weren't right. With tensions rising, the question wasn't if something would break, but when and how bad it would be. The stage was set for a major fallout, and I was right in the middle, waiting for the moment everything would come crashing down. The tension in the neighborhood was reaching a breaking point. Every time the HOA Karen sisters plugged into that outdoor outlet, the strange noises near the septic tank grew louder, like something was struggling beneath the surface. I tried to stay calm, but inside, I was growing more and more worried. The system was clearly under strain, and I knew it wouldn't hold up much longer if they kept using it like this. I wanted to talk to them one last time, but every attempt just felt like banging my head against a wall. They acted like they were untouchable, laughing off my concerns and treating me like the problem. Meanwhile, the whispers among the neighbors became louder. People were starting to take sides, and the usual friendly atmosphere of the community was turning cold. Some were sympathizing with me, understanding that this could lead to serious damage. Others sided with the sisters, thinking I was just overreacting or trying to cause trouble. It felt like the entire neighborhood was watching, waiting for something to happen. Nobody wanted to admit how bad it might get. One evening, I heard an unsettling gurgling sound from the septic area. The sisters had their music blasting louder than ever, completely ignoring the warning signs. I rushed outside, heart pounding, and saw that water was starting to pool dangerously close to the house foundation. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about a little mess or a small repair anymore. This was turning into a full-blown crisis. I knew I had to act fast, but the HOA politics and the sister stubbornness made it nearly impossible. Every conversation ended with frustration or cold shoulders. The clock was ticking, and the risk was growing by the hour. I could feel the pressure mounting, like a storm about to break loose. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, something happened that no one expected, something that would change everything, and force the sisters to face the reality they had been blind to all along. Just as I thought the worst was about to happen with the septic system, an unexpected twist threw everything into chaos. While trying to find a quick fix for the pooling water, I discovered that the outdoor outlet wasn't just connected to the septic pump, it was also wired into an old and forgotten irrigation system buried under the yard. This meant that every time the sisters plugged in their devices, they weren't just risking a septic backup. They were accidentally activating an underground sprinkler system that no one had used or even remembered in years. This new discovery raised the stakes far beyond what I had imagined. The sprinklers started turning on randomly, flooding parts of the yard and causing even more damage underground. Water was seeping into places it shouldn't be, weakening the soil and putting the foundation of my house at risk. The HOA Karen sisters still had no idea what they'd triggered. To them, it was just an outlet, nothing more. But for me, it felt like a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. The neighborhood started noticing the strange flooding, and whispers quickly turned into open concern. Some neighbors began questioning the HOA's management, especially since the sisters had friends in powerful positions. The tension between us all thickened, turning casual conversations into heated debates. I felt trapped in a growing storm of suspicion and blame. What made it even worse was how the sisters reacted. When I tried to explain the irrigation problem, instead of listening, they accused me of making things up to get back at them. The conflict wasn't just about septic tanks or sprinklers anymore. It was about trust, control, and who really had the power in this community. The pressure was unbearable, and the damage was escalating. I knew that soon something had to give. The moment we all dreaded was closer than ever, and no one could predict how far this mess would go before it was finally settled.